Max lives in a dangerous, fucked up world. It can be depressingly beautiful at times, but also filled with visceral brutality. You simply want to pick up some gas to refuel your car, but you end up beaten and naked in the desert with your car gone. And instead of going to the police to report it, you gotta take the matters into your own hands. And perhaps chainsaw a bulky warlord in the brain in the process. Hello people of internet, Papa Bear here coming at you with a third episode of the show. As you can probably tell by the fabulous intro, I've tried my best at incorporating some gameplay footage into my videos. I'm actually quite happy by the way it turned out, but you will be the judge of my efforts. This video is also different because it will have nothing to do with witchery stuff for a change. This is the Mad Max video that I've kept talking about. I've been a Mad Max fan since I was a little boy, but the first Mad Max movie that I've actually seen was 2015 Fury Road. That's crazy, huh? Let me explain. Mad Max has always been a huge deal in my family. My mum loves it, my uncle, the one who introduced me to the Witcher books, also love it, and my grandpa used to love it very much. Everybody in my family loves Mad Max for different reasons, but they all share one common one. That makes me laugh every time I think about it, even to this day. Max Rokatansky has a Slavic-sounding surname. The suffix "ski" makes it sound Polish, and in the eyes of my family, that is a confirmation that he, in fact, is a Pole. I still remember how proud my uncle was when he was telling me about this cult classic movie hero and his connections to Poland. I have no idea if the fact that Max is a Pole has been confirmed anywhere, but it doesn't change anything for my family at least. They consider him to be our countryman. I myself am not fixated on Max being a Polish person, but I am enamored with the stories that we got to see him in and his character. So how is it possible that I have been a fan of a franchise despite not seeing it for so long? Well, let me explain. I grew up in a family that enjoys a good story, and most of my family members can actually tell a decent story. And so they were telling these stories about Mad Max, the movie that they enjoyed tremendously, and the character that they shared a love towards. And so even though they forbade me from seeing the movies about Mad Max, they were still telling me all the stories about him. And so I grew up in a household where Max had been a sort of a fabled folk hero to some extent. For me, growing up, Max was no different from Cinderella or Hansel and Gretel or any other character from fables and tales. And so then when I was finally legally able to see a Mad Max movie, I thought to myself, well, probably these movies aren't that good because, they are old. I was 16 around the time that I thought it, and I didn't know any better. And when 2015 came along, and with it, Fury Road, my brother-in-law asked me if I wanted to go to a cinema with him and see the movie. And I said, yeah. And the rest is history. When I came out from the cinema after witnessing the Fury Road, I was so pumped. I almost crushed my Fiat 126p. If you don't know what kind of a car Fiat 126p is, do yourself a favor and Google it. I used to have this car because it's really economical and you can repair it with a pair of nylon stockings, WD-40 and a duct tape. Seeing the movie, I couldn't believe how rich the world felt, despite the narrative limitations. Like the movie is one continuous chase scene basically, and it still manages to world build like I've never seen before. Like George Miller, in my eyes, is one of the masters of showing, not telling. And I love it. And then around a year ago, I've stumbled upon a Mad Max the game on a Steam store. And I remembered reading about it back in 2015. The review had some positive things to say about the world building and the car combat. But apart from that, it wasn't very good. Like, the reviewer clearly didn't like the game. And so I thought that, this must be another cash grab video game on a movie license, so I'll pass. But finally I bought it, and I'm so glad I did it and proved myself wrong. The game starts with Max on his way to fabled Plains of Silence, where he hopes to find some peace and solitude for his tormented, mourning soul. And on his way over there, he is attacked by a Scarber's Scrotus Warboy war party. And a side note, you gotta love the Mad Max's universe names. They are fantastic in my eyes. Like Scarber's Scrotus, come on. So Max is beaten, robbed, stripped half naked, his car is being towed away, and he is left to die on a desert. However, as is expected from somebody who goes around with a nickname of Mad, he picks himself up and chases the war party on foot and proceeds to fight the warlord. The fight goes kind of well for Max because he manages to plunge a fucking chainsaw into Scarber's Scrotus's head. However, before he is able to kill him off for good, our main antagonist pushes Max off of his war rig, which is called Land Mover. And so Max wanders the desert for a little while, and then he comes across a very important character named Chumbucket. Chumbucket is a hunchbacked mechanic who worships some sort of god or gods of fuel, pistons, and all things car. And he recognizes Max from either his visions or his dreams as someone who's a saint and is sent upon the earth to drive a mythical car that Chumbucket is in the middle of building. That car is called Magnum Opus and is going to be your main means of transportation and the most powerful weapon you will have in the game. On his journey to reclaim his black-on-black pursuit special car, Max meets and forms uneasy alliances with a colourful array of sparingly developed characters who at least have cool names: Cheat, Pink Eye, Deep Fryer, Hope. These characters will normally give you some tasks to fulfill, and they will also allow you to stay in their base of operations that are spread across the map. These strongholds, as they are called, you can help develop them, upgrade them, and they will give you some nice passive bonuses. The game main theme seems to be Max's inability to move on with his life. Despite obtaining new car, making new acquaintances, forming somewhat romantic relationship with Hope, and finding a child in need of protection, that Hope's daughter Glory, Max ends up in the same place that he starts the game. Max destroys the very car that we spent the entire game developing and caring for. His new sort of foster family is killed yet again. I wouldn't say his best friend, but his most loyal to a point ally, that is Chumbucket, is killed as well. And Chumbucket dies a horrific death, sort of by Max's hand, when the Hunchback is trying to protect the car that he considers to be an archangel, because Max is planning to ram it into Scarber's Scrotus and destroy it in the process. And so he does it anyway, despite Chumbucket's protest, and Chumbucket dies right there. So for Max, nothing changes. He ends up in the same car because he reclaims Black on Black. He wears the same clothes that he wears in the beginning of the game. Nothing changed. What is more, there is a symbolic moment where he has a snow globe that Glory, the kid, gave him as a good luck charm. And when the final cinematic kicks in, Max throws that snow globe away through the window, and he places the photo of his family in front of him in the place that the snow globe used to be. So he really is unable to cope with the loss of his own family, and he probably never will. He sort of shows no signs of progression, which is quite fitting for his character in my opinion. He claims that he wishes to find solitude and peace a respite in the plains of silence. That is his final destination. But is it really so? Maybe he is just as mad as everybody says. Maybe he became the monster that he was so afraid to become in the first Mel Gibson movie. It makes me really sad to think about it, but I do believe that Max is beyond redeeming. He lost his touch with his humanity. He became the wasteland's boogeyman. In my opinion, he is no longer a human being, and he probably never will be. He fools himself into thinking that what he wants is peace, while in fact I think he really wants to die. And sure, he fights for his survival and displays enormous courage in the face of danger. But what I believe is the case is that he wants to go out in as much glory as possible. Sort of like a Viking warrior in search of glorious death in order to claim the gates of Valhalla for himself. He wants his death to be spectacular and remembered. This game made me think about Mad Max and analyzing his psyche and psychology of grief. That is insane. I applaud Avalanche Studios all the way their efforts. None of the movies actually made me think and care about the characters so much. And what I love about it the most is the fact that Max is an asshole from the start to end of this story. Mad Max from the game is my favorite one by far. Even when he goes on a rescue mission to save Hope's daughter from the creepy buzzards, he is more annoyed than anything about the whole quest. Like there is a part of him that he no longer understands, the selfless part that wants to help people and, save kids. And he is annoyed that this part still exists in him. I believe that he truly lost his grip with humanity. When there is a chance that he may care for somebody again, these people are killed. What Max does, he buries his sadness, replaces it with rage and anger, and he goes on a rampage. Every other Max had some redeeming qualities and moments that made you realize there is a human behind the angry face, grunts and worn leather jacket, but not here. Here it's not even a moment, it's a glimpse, as quick as a sun reflecting off of a glass surface. You blink and you missed it. It's really powerful how Avalanche Studios approach to the character of Max, and they risked a lot by making the main character an unlikable asshole. And I guess a lot of people didn't like it. But me, I loved every moment of role-playing as an asshole Max. The way that Max is portrayed in the game wouldn't work in our world. He would be considered a villain. But in a world where women are trophies, weak people are bloodbugs, warlords are depraved sex maniacs, and canned dog food is considered to be a delicacy, Max is our hero. And he is a hero fitting the world that he inhabits. But what about the game? What is it? Well, Mad Max by Avalanche Studios is an open-world action game with elements of light RPG sprinkled on top of it. You've got a big map at your disposal that you can explore freely after reaching a certain threshold in this story mode. And despite the fact that the game is about a desert wasteland, the map is quite diverse and has unique looking locations. There's a decent amount of customization for Max's appearance, as well as the gear you can equip and improve on your character's stats to help out in the battle. When it comes to upgrades for your car, the magnum opus, however, is where all the fun starts. You can modify almost every part of your vehicle and adjust it to the terrain, the purpose which you want your car to fulfill, or simply to make it look as cool as you wish. Getting back to the topic of the map and the beautiful world, when you think about Wasteland, you not necessarily have beautiful pictures in mind, right? Well, kind of wrong, and let me show you why. To put it simply, the gameplay is divided into driving sections, on-foot combat and exploration, performing quests for NPCs, racing other maniacs on racetracks, destroying Lord Scrotus's convoys, liberating outposts, and basically exploring the wasteland. If it all sounds like nothing new under the sun, then good, because it isn't. But the way it's all crafted and put together is what works so well in the game. I was never bored while playing the game. All the waypoints on the map made me curious because I knew that each one of them will have something interesting in it. The game, in the spirit of George Miller's movies, is masterful at telling the stories through environmental clues. If you wish, you can look around, put the clues all together and make up your own story about the place that you've just visited. The combat is divided into two sections, a car combat and on-foot combat. And while it's clear that the main focus of the developing team went into a car combat with its in-depth systems and variety, both are, in my mind, equally fun, look great and are satisfying. And speaking of variety in the combat in this game, you can smash into things with a ram mounted on the front of your car. Magnum Opus has two flamethrowers mounted on its sides that can be used to burn both enemies' cars and enemies themselves, and explosions are so pretty to look at. Chum Bucket is a great shot when it comes to shooting a bazooka at moving vehicles. He is also more than happy to aid you with a harpoon gun that can be used to pull apart cars and pierce through enemies. You can disarm enemies to use their own weapons against them. There's a sniper rifle that can serve as both a rifle and a scope to scout the area. Canisters with gasoline shouldn't be underestimated either. And my personal favourite, a boomstick that goes boom. Sword of shotguns also goes boom. But it is without a doubt that the most dangerous, vicious and satisfying weapon that you can use is Max himself. There is so much to do in this game, it's quite impressive. But even though the number of side activities is really high, just driving around in your Magnum Opus is really fun. From time to time I still enjoy just hopping on the Magnum Opus and driving around, listening to Chum Bucket and what he has to say. People were complaining about the story of the game and undeveloped characters, but let me tell you something. I don't know what Mad Max movies you've seen, but all of them have simple stories and characters are not exactly laid out for the viewers. We don't know very much about the toe cutter, the gyro captain, the warrior woman, the master blaster. We don't need to. Max's stories are simple on the surface with deep meaning lying underneath for you to discover, if you wish. If not, you can enjoy the movies and the game on a superficial level as awesome action spectacles. The story, in my opinion, is good enough to keep you engaged. It took me around 35 hours of gameplay and it could be much shorter, but I've decided to stick around, do my thing, liberate enough outposts to lower the threat level of the ever-present Lord Scrotus's menace, and then I decided that it's enough of his reign over the realm. I spent my time hunting war parties, the creepy buzzards, liberating outposts, helping people of the wasteland live their lives in peace, at least relative peace. Each action I took made me feel something really special, and when the end credits rolled and Max entered his interceptor, I felt like I have left my impression on the corner of the world that I've just visited. Like the people of the wasteland will never forget Max, given that they survived the encounter with him. In the end, I had so much fun with the game, it's beyond comprehension. It was a long time since the game made me engage on an emotional level and was also very fun to play. I think it's a real shame that the game did so poorly on its release, because it most likely we will never have a sequel to it. This game is criminally underrated, and I really hope it will get its due. In my mind, it belongs on a pedestal with all the classics of open worlds, such as Red Dead Redemption, GTA's, Bully, The Wild Hunt. This game, alongside with the movies, is a dark fairy tale for adults, for a very specific type of an adult. And I would suggest that you do yourself a favor and check out if you are not one of the adults who may enjoy such a fairy tale. You may just find out that you love it at least half as much as I did. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you will give the Mad Max, the game, a fair try. It's really worth it. I hope that I made you at least a little bit curious about the whole thing, and you will try it out. And let me know, what do you think about Mad Max as a franchise? Did you like the movies? Have you played the game? Who's your favorite character? And who do you believe Max's ancestors were? Was he really Polish? I would love to find out and put my uncle's mind to rest finally. Alright, so I hope you will all have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Don't forget to hug a loved one. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.